I mean, I can find the right button. Okay.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
And we are now live on another episode of Indie Creator Spotlight. Tonight's going to be a very fun one because we're talking about a horror movie that's been 37 years in the making. And it's a sequel to a movie I absolutely loved as a kid. But with us today, we have Patsy. How's it going, my friend?
It's going pretty well. I mean, 37 years, Leo. You have shoes older than that.
Oh, yeah, totally. Would you like to introduce our awesome guest, good sir?
Yeah, let's introduce the guest. Today we have because we're talking about this movie. Movies can't get made without producers, and we have the producer of Grizzly II: Revenge, Suzanne. Suzanne, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, this is, a great chance to talk to somebody who has, insider knowledge on this lengthy journey, we'll call it, for getting this movie made and getting it out so people can see it. So I appreciate you coming on to give us some insight and let us know some of the behind the scenes stuff.
Well, thank you. Just ask what would you like to know?
Well, there's a lot of things I'd like to know. Now, watching this, I had not seen the original, but in doing the research for this, I noticed that the original, the tagline was "the deadliest jaws in the land." And as I'm watching this movie, I definitely got some Jaws vibes from it. But I mean, it's one of those part of the collection of those killer animal movies that came out in the late 80s and or late 70s, early 80s. But I like the spin that you took on it. Like, it wasn't just like, because I've seen some of these that are just like, oh my God, this guy, this is obviously an analog for Quint. This guy's obviously it's so formulaic and boring. But this, you actually have real life to the characters, and you actually care about them, as opposed to a lot of these movies. So my question is, what was it like trying to get the different stars together for this? And I'm not talking about the ones that are, listed in the movie promotional material now. Laura Dern and George Clooney and Charlie Sheen. But I'm talking, you had Louise Fletcher, you had John Rhys Davies, like
Jack Starrett.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh man, look at all these awesome people in it. Because I didn't look at anything. Like when I first watched it, I didn't look at anything. I just put the movie on. I'm like, all right, let's see who's in this. Let's see what we get out of this. So, what was it like getting these bigger stars? Because obviously, Louise Fletcher was Cuckoo's Nest, and John Rhys Davies had done the Indiana Jones films, and Jack had done
Rambo.
The First Blood, yeah.
First Blood.
Yeah. So what was it like getting all these folks together?
Well, we were very lucky because we had a team writer, David Sheldon, and the wife, Joanne McCall, who wrote the first Grizzly I movie. And David got together this casting, basically. Originally, the idea was that he is going to be the director. So he selected or handpicked everybody who he thought is going to be great fun to work with, very professional, easy. And since he was not a super experienced director, he actually, I think, was taking advice from other people how to put the casting together. Now, the funny or the disappointing thing was that by the time they came to Hungary, actually 2 months before principal photography, I find out from my co-producer that David Sheldon is not going to be the director, but a Hungarian-born French director, André Search, is going to be the director. But by then, of course, the casting was there. So André, who was a very inexperienced director, never really directed American film, benefited greatly from the fact that these people were very professional and they didn't need guidance. They knew how to do it, and they really, what you just said, we care about these characters because they were professional. They know how to build up the whole climate to get to know these characters and these people. So we were very lucky with David Sheldon and also with the casting.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, I was
Go ahead, Leo.
Yeah, no, I was just going to bring up. So we do have the trailer. We're going to play that, and I'm going to let's see. Assuming I can find the right button here. Here we go. So Grizzly II: The Revenge is out on VOD right now in physical media. I got information in the show notes down below or above, depending on where you're watching or listening to us. And here we go.
What happened now?
Grizzly killed again. 3 kids this time.
I don't want a cloud of fear on this concert. Now you get that, Grizzly, and get it now.
The Grizzly we're seeking is huge. And probably enraged.
Now, I have to say that I saw the original Grizzly out on VHS when I was a kid. Absolutely loved it. And if there was a Grizzly 2 released on VHS, I would have definitely checked it out. But I just want to say right now, obviously the big names, George Clooney, Laura Dern, Charlie Sheen, they're early into the movie, but not the main actors. Charlie Sheen, this was literally right before Red Dawn. Laura Dern, obviously 10 years before Jurassic Park. George Clooney, 2 years before ER, but not the ER that we know of. Apparently, he was in another show, ER, with Elliot Gould.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously John Rice Davies, fresh off Indiana Jones and Chips. And I learned that a bootleg version has been floating around on VHS and DVD. So people have been hankering for this for a while.
Oh, really? When did you find out? I didn't know about this.
Oh, I found out today from the Wikipedia page.
Oh, I see. I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah. And another thing, so I'm deathly afraid of bears, like sharks as well. This being like a everything's around that time was feeding off the success of Jaws. I'm so afraid of sharks I won't go in salt water, but bears, I have so many nightmares about bears. I used to live in the woods, and I used to have nightmares that bears were coming in the house, and all good to fear because sharks only kill 6 people a year. Where there's 40 bear attacks a year. And in 1983, when this came out, there was about a dozen fatalities from bears, which is crazy. Bears are scary.
Especially 18-foot tall bears.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was... Go ahead, Leah. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, that was one of the things I really liked about this, because I would imagine... And correct me if I'm wrong, Suzanne, but there was a lot of updated footage put into this film.
Yes.
My guess is that some of the shots had maybe degraded over the time because you shot it on actual film, and maybe some of the film was no longer usable. Is that one of the reasons for the reshoots?
Well, that's one of the reasons. The other is that in the script, there was a lot of repetition. Like, for example, John Rhys Davies is putting down the trap, and what you see is a repetition of the same story that I cut down because I wanted to have a particular speed that we start very slow, but then we accelerate at the end. We really show like an action type of a almost 21st century type of a action scene. And therefore, I cut out a lot of the actual footage what we had. Not just the one what was damaged, but also what I felt is not necessary to constantly repeat and repeat and repeat.
Right. You wanted to have the story flow a little bit better.
Absolutely.
So you did a lot of editing, which makes sense because, once we meet Bouchard, I think things really start to accelerate, like you were saying. Like, it really builds up to that crescendo. Like, he is definitely like the, again, if we're using the Jaws analog, he's like the Quint character, but you get a lot more of his backstory and you get to see him do more stuff. He's not just like this arrogant jerk. He's there to help because he wants to help, because he knows what, damage a bear could do. I mean, whereas Quint just wants 10 grand. And we see one of my favorite shots is when he lifts the tree branch up. It was awesome. What it reminded me of, and it's funny, it reminded me of like one of the shots from the old Incredible Hulk show where Lou Ferrigno would like lift something up. And
exactly.
John Rhys Davies was in one of the TV movies for the Hulk. He was in The Trial of the Incredible Hulk. I just thought that was just a nice little roundabout, connection. So,
Well, sorry.
no, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, exactly the same thing what you spotted right on, that when Bouchard, John Rhys Davis, comes on the scene, things are really rapidly moving. And I just envisioned the audience today, and I said, well, nobody wants to really spend 20 minutes on the same subject over and over again. So let's just use the action scenes more and focus on the dynamics and the music, the 83 cutting edge music, which is now, when we looking back, it's kind of a interesting and new wavy, and so that was the idea.
Yeah, I like the fact that you kept in the old music, but then there is a little bit more updated stuff as well.
Yes.
It really lends, it kind of bridges that gap between the older audience and the newer audience. One of the things we discussed off air that I wanted to bring up, because I thought it was a really great point, is this is a movie for people who have nostalgic feelings for these types of films that were made in the 80s. And it has all practical effects. The bear is a practical effect. There's obviously shots, as we saw in the trailer, of real bears, which a lot of, if you can get animal footage in your animal film, like, that's good, especially if you do some forced perspective and, some clever editing to make it seem like things are happening that aren't, obviously, Laura Dern's not actually being eaten by a bear and, stuff like that. But if you can get that nice editing put together, it's really good. You get it with the actors reacting to maybe an animatronic or a prop, but then you splice in that footage of actual animals, especially after a kill or something like that. I thought it was great, and I loved. We saw a little bit of it in the trailer just now. The guy on fire. Those stunts always are very impressive to me, especially knowing what Kane Hodder went through. There's some great stuff, and there's even a camera trick that I noticed that you guys used that was also used by James Cameron in Terminator, where it's towards the end of the film, towards the climax, when they're driving and the film is sped up, so it looks like they're driving faster, but you're able to maintain a safe speed. Cameron did the same thing at the end of Terminator, like that final chase, which I thought it's really cool. Unless you're looking for it, though, you don't notice that that's what happened. You're just like, okay, they're driving recklessly and crazy, and but they were safe. Like, they were doing it safely. You just did that in post-production, which I thought was excellent. It's a good way to make it seem like they're in danger, but they're not.
Well, thank you for noticing, because actually that was the part that they actually was driving too slow in the original footage, and I accelerated because of the very same reason. You have to feel, as the audience, we have to feel a danger, a complete danger, also to be, the car will turn over. So how would the car turn over if they are too slow? They have to really be almost so disoriented because of the bear, and they just want to go on location and save everybody, that they don't even care about anything, just rushing into the scene. The car turns over, etc., etc. But so this is the little like details that I thought it's very important to raise the elevation, raise the interest and the excitement, that this is the difference between a horror movie and an action movie and a regular movie, basically.
Yeah, I think there's definitely elements of horror, elements of action. I like the fact that We get to see, the poachers talking about Bouchard, so we get a little bit of exposition there, but it's not, overly dramatic, but, you still get a feeling of like how much of a badass Bouchard really is, which I like. Leo, I know you have some other stuff you wanted to talk about as well.
I do. And, with looking at the parallels between this and Jaws, obviously, they're trying to hunt down Jaws, for the reward money. But this year they bring more realism into it because poachers are looking for the bear gallbladder. They, some people think of it as an aphrodisiac. And there was a shot that, reminded me a lot of Jaws when Bouchard towards the end is put in a spot where he can't move. And the bear is going by him, and you see, he's watching as the bear is like going in for the attack. I thought that was awesome. That was just an amazing shot as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I didn't really have any questions there. It was just.
Oh no, it's fine for an observation, but it's to touch on what you were saying about it being more realistic. You have these scientists that are involved that are or not so much scientists, but like
Bear
she is a scientist.
Yep.
Yeah, she, Deborah Raffin's character,
Yes,
doesn't want to kill the bear. She's like, let's tranquilize it if we can, because this is an 18-foot tall grizzly bear. No one's seen anything like this. Like, this is an aberration of nature. So instead of like, let's go shoot it and kill it and carve it up for parts, let's see if we can capture it and learn something from it. Which that's always a nice touch in these types of films. And generally these folks aren't listened to when it comes to these types of movies. They never listen to the scientists. It's like, oh, well, we're just going to go, we're going to use dynamite and rocket launchers and we're going to go blow this thing to hell. But, with her character, and I mean, even with certain films, you have these people like, well, I'm the scientist and it's my opinion that we should kill this thing because it's too much of a danger. But she's like, no, let's preserve it. And, she seems pretty pissed off about something, probably her cubs. And, we get to see a little bit of that at the very beginning. That opening shot is poachers shooting a couple of bear cubs and then a pissed off bear. So
pissed off mama bear.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you don't want to get between a mama bear and her cubs. That's
for sure
a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
I want to remind everybody that we are talking about Grizzly II. So if you love 80s horror movies, this is definitely perfect for you. Shot in 1983, just now coming to home video and physical media for you collectors as well. I got information in show notes down below or up above, depending on where you're watching or listening to us. And if you love the original Grizzly like I do, that's probably where some of my fears came from. Is just that movie, probably.
Yeah, see, I'm the opposite of you. I love sharks and I love Jaws. I mean, bears, yeah, I could outrun a shark on land. Like, I'm not worried about that. Bear, not so much.
Nope, not at all. And there's a bear joke, and I'm not going to be able to repeat it. Something about, a grizzly bear, you wear like pepper and bells, and then if you come across bear poop with bells and pepper, never mind. I can't say it. I don't know where I'm going with that. I know we're running low on time. Patrick, was there anything else you wanted to make sure we touched on?
Yeah, I just want to know, how do you feel, Suzanne, after, so long, almost 4 decades of being in, what they call development hell or production hell, and finally this project that you worked on so hard and with, so many other people put so much time and effort and energy into, and it's finally getting out there after, like Leo said, all these rumors like, oh, I saw, 12 seconds of footage and, oh, it looked so awesome. Or I saw 15 minutes of the ending and it looked amazing. I can't wait to see this movie. Like, how does it feel to finally get your work out there?
Well, it feels really great. I mean, it just gives you so much satisfaction. 3 years ago, when I decided to devote all of my time and step by step, I had to rewrite the script and reconfirmed that it's actually going to be modern and much more enjoyable, and so on and so forth, what I actually wanted to have achieve. And when I went to the Cannes Film Festival, which was, of course, online, I got all right away about 20, 30 distributors and sales reps who absolutely loved that and wanted to make a deal. And that was the first time I felt that I did something really right, not just following the putting the old footage together and just wrap it up, but really conceptually redo the whole thing. So I feel great, and the distributor Gravitas absolutely loves that. They got a lot of good feedback from everybody, so it's a real great accomplishment.
Well, it's awesome. I'm glad that your hard work finally paid off, and it paid off in such a big way.
Thank you.
It took some time, but like they say, Rome wasn't built in a day. So
Exactly.
I'm glad that your project not only saw the light of day, but like you said, you had all these people that probably hit their nostalgia, and they were like, oh, this is something that we could work. And Gravitas, I've worked with them a couple of times on different interviews and stuff, and they've been great. So it's awesome that we get a chance to chat with you. We've chatted with some other folks that Gravitas has worked with, so I'm glad that they took the chance, because my wife and I watched this. We had a lot of fun with it. And I just want to thank you for spending time with us. Leo, I know you have your usual wrap-up questions for Suzanne.
Yeah, totally. So I definitely want you to urge you to check out Grizzly II. Information shown us down below or up above. And just so I'm not crazy, I did find a joke just really quick. I won't say the whole thing, but basically, park rangers are warning people about bears, and they say, in order to scare the bears away, wear bells. The noise will scare them away, and spray pepper spray. And in order to tell if bears are in the area, black bears have small scat, where grizzly bears are normally have scat containing small bells and smell of pepper. So that was and Suzanne, where do you like people interacting with you on social media?
We have a website, Grizzly2Revenge.com. And we have we have a shop where we have memorabilia, and we have all the information, and we're also posting where the movie can be seen and how, and so on and so forth. So it's a living website. So we would like us, if everybody can visit us and see. We have package deals if they buy, let's say, 3 pieces of memorabilia like T-shirt, hat, and so on and so forth, pin or keychain or whatever, then they get a very good deal. So it would be fun to hear from people, and the feedback. It's really feels bad. Really feels great.
Awesome. So we have that link in the show notes as well, and we all absolutely love 80s nostalgia, so definitely check it out. So Patrick, where do you like people following you?
Oh, I was going to say, I didn't know if you wanted to totally wrap up the show, but yeah, we can do that. I like people following me on throwdownthursdaypodcast.com. You can, I did it right this time. You can, there's us right there. Every time I go to point right above me, because it's mirrored, I always do it wrong. You can follow us at throwdownthursdaypodcast.com. We have episodes that come out every Thursday. We just did a Wanda Maximoff Scarlet Witch episode to prepare you for WandaVision. We have shows coming out. Let's see, every Friday we do the Loudest Sports Show. That's me and my brothers, Slash is the Ice Queen, and our niece 6-year-old Emma Extreme, and Shark Bites is coming back. We have an episode dropping tomorrow, an interview with Timothy Miller, who just wrote the book The Curious Case of Eliza Doolittle, which also drops tomorrow. And check out Grizzly II Revenge. It's so much fun. If you want to see, like, pre-Red Dawn Charlie Sheen and a bear, and you want to see barrel-chested John Rhys Davies lifting giant trees and like just walking around being a badass bear hunter, this is the film for you. Anything with a giant animal in it that's bigger than it should be. An 18-foot grizzly is definitely right in my wheelhouse.
Yeah. Totally agree. And actually, what we'll do is we'll let Suzanne go. I'm sorry, I was distracted. My phone was ringing there. We'll let you go, Suzanne, and we'll definitely let you know when this live video is up right now.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And Patrick, I figured we could stay on, talk a little bit more about the movie as well. And,
yeah, we could talk about the movie. I did want to quickly touch on the thing I was just discussing, the interview I have with Timothy Miller tomorrow. His book is called The Curious Case of Eliza Doolittle, and I had no clue who Eliza Doolittle was because I had never seen My Fair Lady, and I had never read Pygmalion. I had no clue what it was about. So doing my research for the interview and reading the book, I learned that this was the character played by in the stage play Julie Andrews, and in the film Audrey Hepburn.
Oh.
So this story takes those characters, so it's the classic, I'm going to take this uncouth person and turn them into a member of high society. And, there's a bet on it, so like Trading Places, She's All That, couple episodes of The Three Stooges, all these classic stories, like she couldn't be prom queen. She has pigtails and glasses. Oh my God. Like, how are you going to make her a functioning member of high society? It's like, you do know she looks like Julie Andrews, right? Like, you do know that's Audrey Hepburn. Like, you think she's going to, like, slap a dress on her and she'll totally be presentable. They even did a Simpsons episode on it with Groundskeeper Willie.
Oh.
Where Lisa turned him into a scholarly gentleman.
Yes, I remember that.
But it's them. So it's all those characters. Yeah, Simpsons, Flintstones, Family Guy. Yeah, all of those. Yeah, it's a tale that's been told 1,000 times. So he takes those characters, Pickering, Higgins, and Eliza Doolittle, and Pickering just so happens to have served in the Army and is friends with Dr. John Watson. And he's having an issue because he thinks there's something different, but he can't quite place what's different about Eliza. And so they bring in Sherlock Holmes to find out what's going on. And without giving a spoiler, there is another character who is... who put that? Colleen. Oh, I did not know that, Colleen. Thank you for the information. And no, Coop, not Higgins from Magnum PI, different Higgins. So without spoiling, there's another character from around that time period that plays a prominent role in why Eliza is so different.
Huh.
And the book drops tomorrow. So Shark Bites is back for tomorrow. We're going to be dropping some episodes with a lot of author interviews coming up. So I'm excited for that. And it's funny because I asked the gentleman who wrote it, Mr. Timothy Miller, and I said, so where'd you come up with the idea for this? Because it says in your author bio, you came up with the idea while you were in Milan. So how are you in Italy and coming up with all these British characters interacting and everything taking place in England? And it's a really interesting story how he got there. I won't spoil it, but it's pretty great.
Very cool. Can't wait to listen to it.
So yeah, let's get back to Grizzly II.
Well, actually, I was going to say a little bit of connection here. Audrey Hepburn is actually a Connecticut resident. Well, was a Connecticut resident. My brother was actually working on the house she used to have. They were doing some reconstruction, and they tore out like one of the doors, and that actually ended up at my parents' old farmhouse. So we could have had a door that Audrey Hepburn touched. I mean, I know it's amazing.
George Washington slept here.
Yeah.
So, don't you have like 40 siblings?
All in all, it was 6 sisters and 4 brothers.
Right, so it's a little high on the 40, but
yeah,
because you're like, oh yeah, my brother. Like, I could say my brothers because I only have 2.
Yeah,
you have like a full NBA like roster.
Oh, it was definitely the Brady Bunch family. It's actually they're all like half brothers and half sisters. It was my mother had a family, my father had a family, and then they both lost their significant others. Then they got together and had me. So it's like the Brady Bunch, type of thing, except Brady's didn't have any additional kids.
No.
Maybe I was adopted. I don't know.
We need somebody who's good at killing snakes. Trust me, it'll come in handy.
I was just talking to my mom about the snakes as well. There's some stuff I need to get at the old farmhouse, and I'm not going to go up when it gets warm. So I need to go like sometime soon. Otherwise,
it's been like in the 50s, so the snakes are probably confused as hell. They don't know what's going on.
Oh yeah. So Grizzly II, I wanted to bring up some parallels that I noticed, and most likely you did as well. The Jack Start from First Blood, obviously he was like the Ben Gardner type of character, and he even mentions a great white at one point. Did you catch that? No.
Yeah, I'm sure that was just thrown in there because of the thing that stood out most to me as far as this parallel was Louise Fletcher. And I looked at, when she kept talking about the concert, and I looked over at Ash and I was like, these beaches will be open on the 4th of July. Because it was definitely because the concert was the big thing, and they're like, oh, we're going to have all these people up here. Like they were talking about like 100,000 was like this Woodstock type thing. And I think, some of the footage that they ended up using to kind of, bridge that gap, like I was talking about earlier, is definitely from some of these outdoor festivals. I don't know, like Bonnaroo, or I don't know, what the hell are some of these other ones? There's another one. There's like a big one, like Coachella,
Burning Man.
Well, I was gonna say I don't know about Burning Man. That I don't think that aesthetic would have quite fit into the '80s group.
Yeah, definitely like a Bonnaroo. That's like a hipster type of thing.
So people dressed maybe retro-ishly, to kind of blend in, because you don't want it to be like super jarring. Like you don't want to have a guy, walking around with like a Tampa Bay Devil Rays t-shirt or something, because it's like that wasn't a team in 1983, or a Bernie Sanders shirt.
Well, it could Bernie could have been promoting.
Well, no, Bernie was around back then, but Bernie was not nearly as prominent in 1983 that he has been in the last 10 years or so.
Yeah.
I got a guy walking around wearing like a PlayStation shirt. Like that would be weird.
It would. Time travel.
Tom Brady jersey, just like strolling through the crowd. Yeah, this is awesome. It's like, weren't you 5 back then?
Some of the other parallels I noticed, Deborah Raffin, her character was definitely the Hooper type. Steve Inwood was definitely the Brody type.
Yeah.
And then John Rice Davies, obviously, as the Quint.
As Quint. Yeah, there's definitely... See, that's the thing. It's like, there's only like 8 types of stories you can tell. And obviously, Man versus Nature, you're going to have, the repeated the repeated characters over and over again. Like, you could look at it as, look at like the Call of the Wild or White Fang. Those are essentially the same story.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because Jack London wrote them both. But a lot of these man versus nature. Even look at like The Edge with no, maybe not The Edge. What's the one? The Gray, because The Edge is the one with there's a bear in that one too.
Yeah.
But that's Anthony Hopkins and Harold Perrineau and Alec Baldwin. The Gray with Liam Neeson. Which, if you own a Nissan, if you don't call it Liam Neeson, like you've messed up in life. That's another one of those man versus nature things. Like there's, you have those similar characters. Because Quint is Captain Ahab. Like, so, and I would say that John Rhys Davies is a lot. His Bouchard is a lot less. Quint, or a lot less Ahab than Quint is, because Quint just has like all the trophies everywhere. Bouchard is retired. He's living on his own. He doesn't want to do this anymore. So this is the classic character, like, let's pull you out of retirement for one last job type of thing. Like Donald Sutherland in The Italian Job, or, something in that vein, those types of characters. So while there's definitely parallels, these are certainly unique characters, and their approach to the antagonist animal in this case. Definitely, because like Deborah Raffin's character, you were saying, is definitely the Hooper analog. But Hooper was like, I'm totally fine killing this thing.
Yep,
totally cool with it. Let me get some pictures. Let me get famous. Totally cool with killing it. As opposed to her character, where we talked about earlier, it's like, here are your tranquilizers. Like, don't kill it. So.
No, totally. And I had a comment I was gonna say, and I totally forgot it. Oh, I love how Bouchard always references himself in the third person.
It's that French Canadian
mountain man type of.
It reminds me, if you've ever read the book, when Mike Hanlon is chronicling the stuff that happened to his dad, and his dad's hanging out with all the lumberjacks. Like, it's that type of dialect, that, is, and they certainly made him look like the brawny paper towel man.
Yeah.
With the red flannel shirt, like, oh, we need something that says mountain man. Red and black flannel shirt. You're promoted. Because that's the fall. The brawny paper towel man, Paul Bunyan. Whenever you think about him, like, that's what he's wearing. Like, and it makes sense. Like, you want to create that visual aesthetic without, having him, sit there and he has an axe. So, you have him saying, instead of him saying, I am a rugged mountain man, it's, here's my axe that I can wield. Here's me with this shirt with my sleeves rolled up, presenting the aesthetic. Show, don't tell.
Yeah. And
then he lifted that giant tree branch, which was, he's just like, "Brrr. Okay, you can drive your car through now. Yep. Yeah." Starts spinning on his fingers like the Harlem Globetrotters. Dribbling behind his back.
Lead this devil bear to Bouchard.
Yeah. Oh, because he talks about, like, his background. Like, oh yeah, I've been hunting bears since I was 5. Me and my dad used to go out, and we would just, like, we'd come home with, like, 25 bears in a weekend. Like, so this guy, maybe that's, a little bit more of the Quint analog.
Yeah.
Because Quint had all the
trophies.
Jaws everywhere. Trophies was probably a better word to use. But yeah, he had all the Jaws everywhere, and I guarantee if we got a little more backstory on Bouchard, guaranteed he would have made like his own moonshines and stuff too. Like guaranteed he had a still somewhere.
So was there a Bouchard in the first one?
I never saw the first one. I've only seen this one.
See, I remember. I need to watch the first one again.
See, I'm thinking from what my understanding is, the first one was more of a straight up animal attack film. Like from what I understand, like wasn't it like, you know, them in a car and the bear, like them trying to get away, but every time they would try to get away, like the bear would come back and they had to keep retreating back to the car.
Well, you know what? Am
I thinking right?
I can play the trailer.
Oh yeah, let's find out. I am curious.
Yeah.
This is the way to send this thing, all right? Just like that. 1, 2, 3. Good job.
I don't think this is the trailer.
No.
Step. There it is. Come on. Jack Haynes. Grizzly, presented by Nordic Track. Maybe if they were in better shape, they could have gotten away from the bear.
Okay, here we go.
A motion picture is coming that does not cater to fantasy. You will see nature's most savage man-eating animal. By its size alone, it can overpower and devour any human. Grizzly. Over 18 feet tall, over 2,000 pounds. The largest carnivorous brown beast in the world.
The campers come in here, they leave food around, the bears get the smell of it, and that's it. Well, this is different. This bum's eating his victims.
Anyone is fair game, because this grizzly preys on the easiest food of all. Man. 18 feet of man-eating, gut-crunching terror. The deadliest jaws on land belong to Grizzly.
The bear was fighting a helicopter.
Yes.
How about that?
And that was also well, that was David Sheldon who left the first movie. Right?
That sounds about right. I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, because she mentioned David Sheldon. Let's see. I'm just
not to be confused with Young Sheldon on ABC.
Yeah,
or CBS.
I tried watching that.
I didn't.
I am not seeing a Bouchard.
No, probably not. Probably Bouchard was brought in because of the analog to Jaws. When did Grizzly 1 come out? 81?
Grizzly 1 came out in 76.
76, so a year after Jaws.
Yeah.
So they definitely, they were, I mean, you had Jaws, you had Orca, you had Piranha, you had Grizzly. Did they discuss how the footage was damaged over time? No, she didn't get into specifics as to how, but I'm guessing it's just degradation over time because it was 35 millimeter, and if it wasn't stored properly,
she mentioned it yellowed.
Yeah, but we didn't say specifically this is how it happened.
Yeah,
but I'm guessing it wasn't. It might not have been stored properly, or maybe it got a little bit of exposure or something.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see the bootleg copy that was roaming around on VHS and DVD.
Well, if only there was some way that we could find this. She saved this film, though. That's how John tells it.
Yeah. I was going to say, to the dark web.
Geek Life HQ. They just joined a network, didn't they?
I've been hearing that. I think they joined the Dorkening Podcast Network.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Geek Life HQ is now a part of the Dorkening Network, which is pretty rad.
Oh, totally. Actually, several shows joined. So the guys over at Geek Life headquarters, also Dave Bad from Sinner Sundays, Dave and Ashley. They're going to be starting their season 2, I believe, next month. Matthew is bringing Boombasticast to the Dorkening Podcast Network. And Roger Froyland has his Havens podcasts, his Then and Now, and the East Meets West podcasts, which are all joining the Dorkening Podcast Network.
I heard Roger's co-host on the East Meets the West is very handsome and makes a lot of really good points all the time.
I'm sure he does. So
I do that show with Roger every other week or so, and that's an interesting one because I watch a lot of films that I'd never seen before, because it's basically we take a spaghetti western and pair it with a Shaw Brothers kung fu film.
Oh.
And I always assumed that the Shaw Brothers were literally like just two dudes.
Yeah.
Not realizing that it's like Warner Brothers. It's the same concept where it's not like, I was like, oh yes, the Shaw Brothers, Rick and Scrim. It's like, nope, it's literally the Shaw Brothers is the production company. And you have the Venom Mob. Ooh, you want to see some awesome kung fu? Watch these films. Because you could have these guys could play the villain in one movie and the hero in the next, and like there's amazing choreography, and there are some of the tropes that these types of movies get mocked for, where like the voices don't always match the character in the dub. Like you'll see like this big hulking guy and like Lo Mang, and he'll have like a Gilbert Gottfried voice. It's really weird. But some of the choreography is just phenomenal. And because these guys work together over and over again, the chemistry is amazing.
Well, if there's any titles that you think I should definitely check out, definitely let me know.
They have a ton of them on Amazon Prime, and that's where we've been watching them. The Kid with the Golden Arms is really fun. Masked Avengers, and there's another one, I'm trying to remember the name of it, something about Shaolin, where it was like this northern school and the southern school, and like the way it ended is weird because it ended like in the middle of a scene. It does have some crazy stuff in it, like you'll see these guys get like these catastrophic wounds, but they're able to run like 30 miles, exposit all over the place, and then die. like oh, it was this gang, and then he'll die, like just covered with blood.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Like
you should definitely check out Netflix. I'm pretty sure, Netflix has a documentary, Iron Fists and Kung Fu Kicks.
I'll check that out.
Yeah, they cover a lot of the classic kung fu movies.
I think we've done 4 episodes of this one so far, and we've also watched 4 different spaghetti westerns. Only one had a sequel. So the first one was called Death Rides a Horse with Lee Van Cleef, and it's awesome. And I never saw a movie like. Let me rephrase this. He's in Escape from New York. He's the one who gives Kurt Russell the job.
Yep.
Or the task. But like seeing him in a Western is totally different. Like he's so badass. The next movie we watched was called A Pistol for Ringo. And then we watched the sequel, Ringo, The Return of Ringo. The thing that confused me about this movie is that pretty much the entire cast returns from the first film, but they all play different characters. So, like, imagine you watch A New Hope.
Yeah.
And the next film, Luke Skywalker is still Mark Hamill. Carrie Fisher is in it, but she's not Princess Leia. Harrison Ford's in it, but he's not Han Solo. Like, it's just, it would be so, it's like, weren't you in the first? Like, you died in the first one. Why are you? Why you were the good guy? Now you're a bad guy. Like, and even his character changed. Like, They're like, oh, have some whiskey. He's like, no, I don't drink. He's like, I'll have milk. And then in the second movie, he's just like pounding bourbon like there's no tomorrow. And it's like,
Well, it's kind of like the Dollars trilogy is kind of like that too. I haven't watched the third one yet, but the first and second, there's definitely a change with Clint Eastwood. Because like the first one, he's just this random guy in the town, and then the second one, he's like a bounty hunter. And through IMDb, it looks like his name changes in each movie as well.
I thought he was the man with no name.
Yeah,
or is that a different one?
No, that's it. But he's listed. Let's see.
Reminds me of the Futurama gag. I am the man with no name, Zap Brannigan.
Yeah, he plays Blondie in the third movie. That's his character's name. Let's see. Why is this not working? And then, yeah, he had no name in the first movie.
That would be a change. What's his name in the second movie now?
I'm looking it up right now.
It's probably Mittens.
Okay, why won't it let me search? Come on, it's freezing. Okay. No, it says a fistful of dollars. His name is Joe. And for a few dollars more, his name is Monko. So maybe there is the man with no name because his name changes. And then Blondie for the third movie.
Oh, it's kind of like, Joker's backstory. It changes every time you talk to him.
Yeah.
Maybe his name just changes for the situation.
Could be.
But yeah, this one was weird because like I said, every character came back, or every actor came back, but like none of them played the same character. It was so weird and so off-putting. I was just like, for people who are unfamiliar, the term spaghetti western is any western that was directed by an Italian director, Sergio Leone. For what you're talking about, and usually filmed in Spain. But it's weird, like the Ringo movie, everybody is clearly speaking Italian and it's dubbed over in English for both of those Ringo movies. But for the one we just watched, what is the name of it? Oh my God. It's got Lee Van Cleef in it and Montgomery Wood, who played Ringo, but his name's not really Montgomery Wood. Hold on, Lee Van Cleef. And the first thing that comes up is Escape from New York. It's like, no. And the movie that I watched him in was, it was on Tubi for free, which was pretty cool. Yeah, this is going to be a great show here as Death Rides a Horse. Nope, Day of Anger, which was also filmed in 1967. It was all in English. Like everybody was speaking English, but the Italian people had their voices dubbed over. So yeah, his name is Giuliano Gemma, but he was also known as Montgomery Wood, which I thought was interesting.
So it's weird because, well, that must be how those movies are, because for a few dollars more, he's Colonel Douglas Mortimer, but The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, he's Sentenza Angel Eyes.
So
I thought those were sequels.
They used a lot of angel stuff. Giuliano Gemma / Montgomery Wood, he was known as Angel Face in the Ringo movies. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I need to watch more spaghetti westerns.
These ones are good. Anything with those guys in it. Obviously, the four that I've seen so far, Death Rides a Horse, the two Ringo movies, and Day of Anger. I have been a fan. Let me look up that other movie we were talking about before. So Lo Meng also credited as Meng Lo. He was in the Ip Man movies,
Yes.
as well as a lot of these. There's Golden Arms Returns. That's not the one I'm thinking of, because most of these came out late 70s, early 80s. Invincible Shaolin, that's the one. Invincible Shaolin is excellent. You have like these different masters of different disciplines, and all these guys do all their own stunts, and it's so good. Like they all. Sometimes though, it's hard to tell these guys apart because they will give them like the same facial hair, the same hairstyle, the same outfits, put them in different. Like I got kind of confused because a couple of these guys look the same, but a couple of them, like you're like, okay, that's Lo Meng. Okay, that's Philip Kwok. Like, all right, you as you're watching them, like you start to like, okay, I know who you recognize Jackie Chan because he's so famous and he's been in so many movies.
Yeah. Well,
but like some of these guys, this is pre Jackie Chan.
Yeah. Well, also in Jackie Chan, there was, certain characters that, he used in each movie. So with his movies, you also got used to seeing like, what's the big guy's name?
Bolo Young.
Bolo Young,
I knew exactly who you meant.
Just a monster of a man. But yeah, and then he was in Bloodsport also.
Yeah, and Enter the Dragon, and he was in a couple of other movies with Van Damme. There was one I remember. He picked up a goddamn oil drum, and he threw it at Van Damme. For people who are not familiar with how much an oil drum weighs, I used to move those when I was working at the lab. We would take the empty ones and we'd fill them with waste, and then we'd take, because what we do is we'd get a big barrel, 55-gallon barrel of dimethylformamide, which is used as a wash for certain peptides. So you would take it, you'd put it on the truck, and the hand truck dolly thing, and you'd bring it to where it needed to be brought. And then once it was done, you could then use that barrel to empty your peptide waste. Those things weighed, let's see, if just using water as an example, water is 8 pounds a gallon, so 440 pounds for a 55-gallon drum. And he took the thing and just heaved it. And Van Damme was like, I know what I'll do. The same thing I do to solve all my problems. I'll kick it. And that's a bad idea. Like 440 pounds coming down at you with momentum is probably like, half a ton at least. And you try to kick it. Clearly the barrel was empty, because those things, like, I could pick that up.
Well, even empty they still weigh a ton.
No, not so, because it's you make them out of like I could pick it up by the rim and carry it with one hand when it's empty. They weren't heavy. Maybe at that point, if they were made out of iron, yes, but these I think were like aluminum, so they're much lighter.
I'm used to my dad worked with oil, and the oil drums.
Mm-hmm.
I know those were heavy.
The same size, but I think oil has a different. The oil drums were made of different material. Yeah. With DMF, it has it interacts with certain things. Like certain acids interact with certain things differently. So it's like it had a special coating on the inside. And it was made of a different metal as opposed to oil, but oil is heavier than 8 pounds a gallon. So you have to have more reinforced metal holding it in. I'm sure people are finding this to be like the most riveting podcast we've ever had.
I know we'll wrap things up, but Bolo Young, looks like he was in several movies with Jean-Claude Ironheart.
He's just so awesome. Like Bolo Young was one of the. Yeah, I don't remember which one I saw him in.
Yeah, he's done a ton.
But I think he was also like a fight choreographer and like a stunt guy. Like he did a lot other than just flexing his pecs.
Yep.
And looking scary.
Yeah.
I mean, that's generally what they had him do. Like, I remember in Enter the Dragon when he picks the guy up and he's like kind of cradling him and then he just like snaps him in half like an almond biscotti.
Yeah.
Here, let me help you up. Snap. Oh, you lose. That's a guy who always got his voice dubbed over and it always sounded awful. Like in Bloodsport, it's like, you lose. It's like, oh, that's not his voice.
Really? I thought that was his. No. Huh.
No, even the first Conan movie, Arnold got his voice dubbed over. And when it first came over to America, the first Mad Max movie, a lot of voices got dubbed over.
Yeah.
Because people are like, oh, we're afraid no one's going to understand it. Oh, Americans are dumb. Which, to be fair, it seems like we've proved that over the past 6 years.
That and then some, yeah.
Yeah, and every time it's like, well, maybe we'll give you the benefit that, oh, no, we were right the first time. You guys are dumb.
Well, Patrick, I want to thank you for your time this evening.
Of course.
Wrap it up. I know we talked about it earlier, but for me, just Google Leo Pond. You find a bunch of stuff. Could be true, could be not, but more importantly, head on over to thedorkening.com, which you can find a bunch of shows on the network. And Patrick, you have Throwdown Thursday. What else do you like people following you?
So we have throwdownthursdaypodcast.com, which has links to all of our social media. We have the Loudest Sports Show, and I want to thank anybody who might be listening to this. I know Colleen was listening earlier or watching earlier, and Colleen helped contribute. We were raising money for some new equipment, which you can see my new camera, how nice this looks. We got a nice panoramic view here, like, big spread out, as opposed to the old camera, which was the laptop camera, which was about this wide. Now we've got this whole huge thing. You can see all of the stuff up and over. Like, it's great. I love it. We have our little dorkening sign right here. I'm so bad at knowing where things are. Okay. Yeah, we've got everything. So, because you guys, we did give away we raffled off a Zdeno Chara signed Patriots mini helmet, which is pretty awesome. It's very rare, especially now that Chara is in Washington playing for the Capitals. But, we were able to raise a bunch of money and allow us to get some new equipment and get some stuff for some upcoming giveaways. So if you are one of those folks who likes the Super Bowl squares, you are in luck, because we're going to be we're picking up a couple of things for Super Bowl squares coming up in a few weeks. That's 3 weeks from Sunday, I believe. So you'll want to get in on that, because there's going to be some good prizes.
Nice.
Some nice sports memorabilia.
Very cool.
I know, Leo, you're not a sports guy, but if you were to get in and you were like, oh, I don't want this, we would get you something else. We'd get you something fancy.
Well, thank you.
Like a snake bashing club.
Yeah. Axes work best. The little, it has to be not a, well, I use a full axe.
You don't dual wield?
No. Matter of fact, there was one that was, it was a really hot day, and as it gets hotter, they move faster. And it was climbing up the wall, and I used one axe to yank it down. Well, actually, sorry, one axe to yank it down, and the other one to chop it.
It's like you saw one sneaking up on you from behind. You just tossed the axe behind you, and chopped it in half, right down the middle. Did you do the Van Damme where like a rattlesnake came at you and you grabbed it and bit its rattle off and threw it on the ground? No. I was always afraid though, because they were different colors, and we used to have copperheads up on the farm, so that's why I made sure all snakes got decapitated, because I didn't want to take any chances. Yeah. But enough about snakes. I want to thank everybody for watching. We'll catch you guys later. Bye.